Hello, guys. Good morning. Welcome to the Young and Sane podcast. And I'm your host, Tamarflourish. And we are here again and once again. And this is our first episode in the month of December. You guys, how did 2023 come to an end? Oh my goodness. Oh my god. I can't believe it. We are at the last month of the year of 2023. How did you get here? 2023 flew. You guys, 2023 flew, and I don't know how it managed to do that successfully in a blow. Before you know it, we are just in the month of December. Alright, I hope you guys are enjoying. You've begun your enjoyment. It's a season of celebration, enjoyment, a lot of fun gatherings, family reunions, getting together, a lot of things. I hope you get to enjoy the season with your loved ones, with your family, with your friends, with everybody um, that you can enjoy the season with. We are gradually coming to the end of season one of the Young and Sane podcast, and I'm excited for it because the following seasons are going to be deep, going deep into the issues we've raised so far, everything that we've been touching on, right, in our previous episodes, and it's going to be an exciting journey. I'm so sure, and I can't wait to get into the details, the juicy parts, the fleshy parts of everything that we've raised in the Young and Sane podcast, and we've analyzed, and we've said we're going to talk about. So yeah, I'm excited for it, and I hope you too are excited for it. And yeah, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of this episode of the Young and Sane podcast. Now, from the title, you know what we're going to talk about. It's something that everybody in one way or the other is talking about it, either talking about it or talking against it and indulging in it, and it's just a whole lot of things, right? It's something that in my generation everybody's excited about: sex, the pleasure, the feeling, the high, the everything. It's just a lot. And so we're going to be talking about all that as we get into this podcast episode. Now let's delve right into it. Please stick with me to the end. So obviously nobody can pretend that either they don't know about sex, or they haven't seen something about sex, or they haven't heard something about sex, or they haven't indulged in something about sex. Everybody falls into one or all of these categories I've mentioned. You've seen something, you've heard something, or you've indulged, or you've even seen, heard, and indulged, practiced, right? And so it's just known, is widely known. Even little children know about sex. Little children have seen, have heard, and some of them are even indulging in the practice. So it's something that is prevalent in the society, something that is conversant in the society, something that we all know one way or the other. Even the Christian folks that would not like to call the term, to call sex, even the people that would not like to call sex, I would like to say is doing the do, or call it fornication, or you call it adultery, or you call it immorality. We are all talking about one and same thing: sex. So I'm trying to say that a lot of people have sex for different reasons. For some, it's to ensure the performance of full bodily functions. Some people just to, because sex is a need, and our body speaks up at different times. Men and women at different times and different seasons of their lives. So because it is a need, people tend to want to fulfill the need just immediately their body speaks to it, right? And then there are other people that involve in it just for um to get high, or involving in sexual activity releases the happy hormone, pleasure hormone. Is it hormone or what? Yeah, like it releases oxytocin, which is like a happy hormone. So the feeling of pleasure and relaxation that comes from it. Some people want it, so involved in any kind of sexual activity, whether it's sex, masturbation, um, um, any kind of sexual activity, right? Then for some people, it's because they want to show um someone. Probably they want to get physical with someone to show um that they love the person, or they feel attracted to the person, or like it's just like a physical show of love. But I think this one is usually among married couples and probably people in relationships as well. So it's one of the reasons people give for involving in sex, to physically prove that they love somebody, right? And and there are just so many reasons that people engage in the act of sex, and for a lot of people it could be all of these reasons put together. For a lot of people it could be all of these reasons put together, or one of it. And yeah, so I remember I was going somewhere for a meeting one morning or afternoon, and I met this guy that offered me a ride. And I got into his car, and we got how they want to make small talk. So he was trying to offer me a ride, like to where I would get a vehicle to where I was going to, because I kind of missed my way or something like that. And he so we got talking and all of that. We exchanged contacts, and all he was talking about was, he wants to get to know me. And you know how guys toast these days, there's just a whole level to it. I was talking about so we could meet up, so I could take care of him and he could take care of me, like. And to my own understanding, it could be like me offering ways to take care of him, like fulfilling his sexual needs, and him fulfilling my needs, my wants or desires. And for him, sex was like a means of taking care of him, and him, which we now encourage. So for this guy, sex was like a means of taking care of him, and him being motivated to take care of me. So a lot of people have different reasons why they engage in sex, especially casual sex, just for the fun of it, just for the pleasure of it, or to be emotionally connected to someone. There's just a lot of reasons. So we've said all that. Now, what is sex? And there's an ongoing debate or argument on what is complete sexual act or not. A lot of people say it's just penetration, and a lot of people say it's way more than that. It's before getting even on the bed, or however people do it, and it's even after that. So the processes may be touching, kissing, fondling, cuddling, all of those things that if people get in the mood, and then get to the climax of penetration and orgasm, and then get into the finishing line of what, I don't know. Anyway, we the younger generation like to say that no, it's just penetration, it's just doing the main act, getting into the person, it's just all that, it's just. But the truth of the matter is, I think it involves everything, before and after the actual penetration or intercourse, right? And it's on that basis that I'm speaking about sex because you derive pleasure both from both the before and after. Like everything that is included, the foreplay, the kissing, the fondling, the touching, caressing, whatever you call it, is they're all sexual activity and they're all part of sex. There are few times I've been guilty of rationalizing it and saying, you just have penetration and intercourse, like trying to find an excuse for indulging in some sexual activities, right? Like trying to rationalize it and probably push the guilt or the shame that comes from it. But the truth of the matter is that it includes everything before, during, and after. It may look extreme or sound extreme, but I think this is actually true. So, the definition of sex seems to be that sex is a physical act of having intercourse or intimacy with a partner, a man and a woman, involving genital to genital sexual contact. So, I think this is in the context of between a man and a woman. Although our world is evolving to where women and women, men and women indulge in sexual activities, which seems unnatural, but yeah. So that's the definition of sex. Now let's get this settled. Let's get this cleared out. Sex is not wrong in itself. It is a beautiful, pleasurable experience that has been created by God, and I think He created this with the expectation that a man and a woman should have this kind of intimacy or connection with themselves, to give each other pleasure. And first of all, sex is sacred. So there are a lot of reasons why sex is beneficial between human beings, especially a man and a woman. And it was originally designed by God, created by God. But then the issue of perversion comes when it's misused or abused, right? And a lot of us have fallen into this category. I'm guilty of this, right? And a lot of people are just guilty of this. So, misusing sex or abusing it is what we're talking about, perversion. And then the meaning of perversion is to abuse or corrupt something, to change the inherent purpose or function of something. So yeah, sex is for pleasure, but the perversion of it is what is common, is what is popular in this day and age. But come to think about it, if sex was not sacred and shouldn't have been in the confines of marriage, why then is it also a tool for procreation, right? And we can all agree that procreation should only happen when there's a father and mother. There are two people to parent a child. So I think this is just my philosophy and thought about the rightness or wrongness of it. It should be within the context of marriage that that permits every fruit that comes from a sexual experience, the pleasure and subsequently the conception that comes with it, right? And is only permitted within the confines of a marriage where a man and a woman are there to parent a child. And so for that reason, I think if it's used outside the context of marriage, is an abuse of sex, is perversion of sex, and it's not really pleasure. And we may think we are getting a lot of benefits or whatever from that, but the pleasure that happens, speaking from personal experience, the thing that happens in sex outside the confines of marriage is not, most of it is not pleasure, is guilt, it is a lot of confusion and feelings that probably a lot of people have different experiences and expectations, but yeah, it comes with a lot of feelings that are not attached to it when it's done within the confines of marriage, two married couple. And so we've talked about the issue of whether sex is pleasure or perversion, and then sex is an instrument for physical pleasure, as I've mentioned before. So sex is for pleasure. But when does it become perversion? When it is abused, when it is misused, when it's not done in the confines of where it is permitted. So it's not just a physical act, but it's a physical act that comes with an emotional and spiritual side, effect or consequence. And so it's still the same physical act that gives, that makes conception possible. And so it's not just for two people casually involved to just be, it's not a casual thing. So a lot of people mention just on casual sex. Casual sex is not a casual thing. It's way deeper than casual. It's emotional, it's spiritual, and it's just right and reasonable that this happens between two married couples who want to be emotionally connected, spiritually connected, physically connected, have pleasure in each other, build intimacy. Yeah, so that's why the confines of marriage is like the only permissible place or the right place for it to happen. And so sex now becomes perversion when it is used, misused, or abused. People use sex to destroy people. So a lot of people who want to perform rituals are instructed by the priest or whomsoever to go have sex with so number of girls or so number of men so that they can make the ritual effective. And that is perversion, and that is one of the reasons why a lot of sexual abuse is going on everywhere today. Yeah, so this is one aspect of perversion. And then another reason why sex can be a perversion is when it becomes an addiction, right? So because sex has been used for perversion, there's a tendency to become addicted to having multiple sexual partners. There's a tendency to become addicted to because the act of sex releases oxytocin, which is a happy hormone or cuddle hormone, and gives a kind of pleasure that makes one feel high at that instant, feel happy, excited, and then because the person now becomes addicted to the excitement of it, the feeling of excitement of it, and he now becomes driven and controlled by his desire for reward. So it feels like his brain becomes attached to the desire of that excitement, that desire for reward, excitement as the reward. So his brain becomes addicted to that desire for reward, and every time he's going for it, it's sexual with multiple people. Going for it with multiple people, and it's not even about the connection he feels to those people. It's not even about building connection, right? Sex is also for intimacy. Even as you get pleasure, you get intimate with your partner. but then that person is not even bothered about the connection. It's just the pleasure, the high, and it can just get bad. Yeah, so this could be one of the effects of sexual perversion as opposed to it being used within the confines of marriage, where it is permitted for pleasure. And there's this thing that a lot of we girls have experienced this, that after a guy has had sex with you, they're dumb and they move on to the next one. So all the while, what in their head they thought they loved you, they thought they wanted you, but all the while, all the thing they wanted was just your body, and immediately they had it, they ran off. So you see how pervert um, things can get when sex becomes involved outside the confines of marriage. And the reason people give for this is that after the rush of physical pleasure that men experience during a sexual activity or after it, a man's body begins to cool down, and that cool down period is where his senses becomes cleared, his emotions are not clouded, he's himself, he's getting into his feelings, what he really thinks, and then everything is clear. I know, like this girl, they will come, they run. So it's the reason why a lot of people have experienced heartbreaks and this. And just that we know the hear word, my generation, me too, I know the hear word. Don't go there, we still we go. And here we are. When the cuckoo leave us, man be like, this person was wicked. But all the while, they say you should not go there. Allow this person to clearly think and want you and really put a ring to it and get into his house before it happens. But we know the hear. So it's just one of the things about perversion of sex, the misuse, abuse, or corruption of it, and where within the confines of where it is permitted. And this also speaks to the fact that a lot of guys use sex as an outlet for emotions. Let me not even say a lot of guys, a lot of people, both men and women, but I think it's more prevalent on the side of the men. They use it as an outlet for their emotions. So like when they are confused or when they are stressed or when they are angry, they don't know how to like express themselves because society has usually not given guys the permission to express themselves. So they express their emotions as anger or like just anger or extreme joy. These are just the two emotions that most guys have been given permission to express. Is an unspoken rule in society, and a lot of people will speak it out. You have to be strong. A man doesn't cry. A man does. This thing not supposed to be a man. So a lot of times when they feel something, they're either interpreting it as anger or they're just excited, extremely joyous, like when they're happy that their club is scoring goal and all of that. And so some of them tend to release their emotions, like they learn to release their emotions through engaging in sexual activities. And this is why some of them think that when I'm angry, I just need babe now will just make me cool off. I just need babe will just make me cool off. I hear a lot of guys say, maybe this girl just make I just find girl will just help me cool off. And then they engage in sex, and for them it's just like I'm okay now. They've released and they're not because they even love the person or anything. They just wanted an avenue to release and cool off. So you see how the perversion of sex has kind of grown. The misuse or corruption of it. So and a lot of my generation tend to replace sex with relationship. So a lot of people, when they say they're in a relationship, they just mean that there are two people having sex with each other on a regular basis, not because they know much about each other or they are in tune with each other or connected to each other. They're just two people engage in sexual activity with each other periodically, occasionally, often, or yeah, some people say they want to cement their relationship. I mean, if you're not married, like there's no guarantee that you're going to be with this person forever. So even marriage these days safe, there's no even guarantee that people are going to stay in a marriage for better for worse. Everything is just going bad. Some people marry because of sex, some people get into relationship because of sex. It's just as if relationship and marriage have become synonymous, which uh is just everything is just getting balanced. So people have replaced relationship with sex. People have even replaced marriage with sex. Like that's what marriage is. Marriage is sex. Relationship is sex. And so, anytime you get into a relationship, you have to get this. You have to give it. Yeah, it's just a lot of things. But as we discussed in the last episode, that the core of every relationship is companionship, and if companionship, if friendship, if partnership is not there, then every other thing will make it even worse, or it will fall apart eventually. So sex cannot cement a companionship or friendship that isn't there. Sex can make you grow closer to each other if there's no friendship there. I mean, if you're having sex with a stranger you don't know about, you only know their body, you don't know their mind, you don't know their heart, you don't know their soul, you don't know what they are thinking. And so the blur of sex, the high of it, the pleasure of it can just blind you to certain things, and there's a whole lot of sermons about that. But what we are talking about in this podcast episode is whether sex is pleasure or perversion, and I'm sure that we've concretely laid that sex can be pleasure or it can be perversion depending on the context of where it is practiced or engaged in, right? And the purpose or intendment for it. So two married couples that engage in sexual activity. Two married couples that engage in sexual activity, engage in it for pleasure, engage in it for intimacy, engage in it for connection, engage in it for procreation. And because because this sex is a physical act that carries an emotional and spiritual aspect to it, it completes and binds the couple to each other, and it's also a form of worship. Many religions is practiced as a form of worship. A lot of people have sex in the temple with probably temple prostitutes for a form of worship to their god or their goddess or whatever. So two married couples engaging in sex is also like a form of worship to the creator of Eve that made it. So they are having pleasure with each other, having intimacy with each other, honoring each other's body, but like as a form of worship to the one that made the act of sex. So far, that's what I believe sex to be. So I believe that we've been able to lay concrete grounds on whether sex is actually a pleasurable act or is perversion. And is a pleasurable act solidly a pleasurable act, but when it is done outside the confines of where it is permitted, it becomes perversion. No matter the amount of pleasure derived from it, is perversion. Yeah, and a lot of us that are falling victims of this, our slate can still be rewritten, right? It's not like writing you off or bringing you down, or it's something that is redeemable. So when you like confess and repent, God forgives, and it's like it never happened at all. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to share on today's episode of the Young and Sane podcast. I hope you got something. I hope a lot of lessons stayed with you. So from today onwards, let's begin to honor sex as it is for pleasure and worship to our Creator, and not let um perversion be the better part. So thank you for staying with me up to this point. I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. I really did, and I learned a lot. So subsequently, I'm going to be sharing stories, personal stories, and a lot of things on every kind of topic, especially this relationship and sex talk, right? Yeah, so make sure you share this podcast. I hope to see you in the next podcast episode. Thank you so much, Young and Sane fam. I'll see you in my next episode. Bye bye. Enjoy your Monday morning.